Sinclair looks down at the weapon and immediately recognizes the dark crimson energy coming from Vikir's blade. She instantly realizes that this frightening light is the special aura of the infamous Night Hound. She finally understands that the boy she loves is actually the notorious vigilante who killed her father. However, before she can say anything, the deadly S-rank paralysis poison from Madame Eight Legs in Vikir's Beelzebub weapon takes effect. Sinclair quickly loses consciousness in his arms. When Decarabia asks why Vikir uses such a dangerous poison, Vikir calmly explains that using a neutralized paralysis agent is necessary to stop her before the situation goes too far. Suddenly, loud red sirens begin to sound throughout the entire chamber. The security system detects that Sinclair is paralyzed and immediately marks her as an abnormal test subject inside the breeding room. The automated system warns them that the terrifying owner of the laboratory is already coming to inspect his failed test subject. The huge mechanical cubes around them begin to move and shake loudly. The entire core of the laboratory prepares to reveal its terrifying ruler to the intruders. A huge and terrifying hybrid slowly comes down from the deep shadows above. The monster is the legendary master of spatial magic, known simply as the Dragon Man. Decarabia immediately panics and explains that this extinct dragon-demon hybrid should not even exist inside Amdush's abyss tree. He warns Vikir not to fight it. The demon stresses that they cannot defeat this monster with their current restricted stats, and Vikir agrees, confirming that they should only focus on escaping the laboratory alive. The massive Dragon Man breathes heavily while looking down at them, sending chills through the air. However, Vikir remains completely calm as he carefully holds the unconscious Sinclair in his arms. The Dragon Man looks down at them with pure annoyance and activates a system notification that officially sentences the abnormal test subjects to immediate disposal. Vikir is briefly confused by this sudden and harsh judgment. He holds Sinclair even more tightly as the entire metal chamber around them begins to shake violently. Then, a blinding blue flash suddenly bursts from the walls, completely covering the chamber and blocking their vision. Their mechanical chamber completely separates from the main structure and falls down a huge shaft, violently hitting the metal walls during the terrifying fall. Vikir slowly comes out of the broken chamber and carefully examines the dark environment filled with wreckage to understand where they have ended up after the crash. A new system window appears in front of him and reveals that they have successfully landed on underground floor 9.5, known as the waste disposal ground. Vikir immediately remembers the tragic memoir of a former student who becomes trapped inside the combat room of the Dragon Man's laboratory, where the smell of fresh blood and desperate screams never disappears. Although the basic mission of moving forward is simple, finding a way to escape this endless hell seems impossible for anyone trapped inside. Caught in an endless cycle of violence and horror, the poor student has to fight wave after wave of huge monsters just to survive another day. To stay alive, he has to brutally kill beasts, terrifying monsters, and even other desperate human challengers who quickly turn against one another for survival. His mind and body become completely broken because of the constant killing. His worsening condition eventually triggers a system warning, causing the laboratory master to personally inspect him. The system decides that he is a completely failed test subject and immediately throws him away through the dark disposal chute like useless trash. Even though the system officially declares his trial mission complete, he remains trapped with no visible exit portal anywhere. He wakes up in a huge graveyard filled with failed and mutated experiments that constantly move around him because they are cursed and unable to die. He realizes too late that the tower never intends to let anyone escape. The beasts eventually tear him apart, and he dies in the rotten pit. In the present, Decarabia panics because the system has officially declared their escape mission complete, yet they are still trapped in the same terrible waste dump. Vikir calmly studies the area and notes that although they escaped the laboratory just as the memoir describes, they have not actually cleared the floor yet. He concludes that the dying student who wrote the record simply does not have enough physical strength to properly search for the hidden exit portal. When faced with endless hordes of terrifying beasts, most people would immediately lose hope, but Vikir is confident that a hidden exit portal has appeared somewhere nearby. Vikir immediately moves into action, draws his blade, and easily cuts the approaching monsters into bloody pieces. Even Vikir struggles to move freely because of the heavy and oppressive gravity in the dump, but his concentration suddenly breaks when something unexpected catches his attention. He turns around in shock and sees Sinclair standing upright with heavily shadowed eyes and an extremely ominous presence. However, Sinclair's eyes soon become clear as she fully regains her sanity because the paralysis poison finally wears off. Vikir quickly apologizes to her and tries to explain that they have no time to discuss their complicated situation. Instead of arguing, Sinclair points across the deep chasm and calmly reveals that she has already found the glowing exit portal they need. Vikir feels genuinely relieved when he sees that the portal leading to the next floor has appeared across the gap and is fully active. Suddenly, Vikir's extremely sharp assassin senses begin to warn him of a terrifying and powerful danger coming from behind. Vikir looks back in horror as a huge red eye tears open the fabric of space directly behind the unaware Sinclair. Immediately afterward, a massive scaly arm comes out of the dark void and tries to crush the unsuspecting girl into dust. Moving as fast as lightning, Vikir pulls Sinclair tightly into his arms and jumps to safety just as the giant hand violently crashes into the ground. While holding her closely, Vikir quickly checks whether she is injured. Sinclair can only stare at him in complete shock and disbelief. She blushes deeply and tries to smile through her warm tears while softly assuring him that she is completely fine and safe in his arms. However, their short peaceful moment ends when Vikir senses another devastating attack coming directly toward them, forcing them to move immediately. Vikir narrowly avoids a huge attack from the shadow monster, which completely destroys the solid stone ground where they were standing only seconds earlier. He quickly runs through the falling debris and reaches the edge of the glowing portal, urgently telling Sinclair to jump inside with him. However, both of them freeze in shock when they notice an important and disturbing detail about the portal. A bright red system warning window appears in front of them and reveals the cruel truth. Only one challenger is allowed to pass through the portal and escape. Vikir quietly curses the system for its petty and cruel trick. He looks deeply into Sinclair's eyes and sadly realizes that they both already know what they have to do. Sinclair suddenly activates her glowing magic circle, following the same self-sacrificing logic as her old friends. She decides that the person with the greatest chance of survival is the one who must live. With a sudden burst of strength, she forcefully pushes Vikir into the glowing portal. Vikir is left shocked and helpless as he begins to fall backward through the light. Sinclair smiles peacefully even as a huge claw appears behind her. She sadly thinks that she still has so many things she wants to say to the legendary Hound. She accepts her fate and realizes too late that the legendary hero she has been searching for all this time is actually her beloved senior from the academy. She sadly wonders why she always misses the perfect timing in her life. She slowly closes her eyes with a peaceful smile as the darkness closes around her. But just as Sinclair prepares for the end, a thick and sticky spider web suddenly shoots out from the portal and wraps tightly around her. Using his powerful spider thread to switch their physical positions, Vikir jumps back out of the portal and forcefully pulls Sinclair toward the exit, firmly telling her that she must survive. Sinclair is left completely shocked as she is violently pulled directly into the glowing exit portal. She desperately cries out Vikir's name with tears in her eyes as she disappears through the bright light. The exact moment she passes through to safety, the huge claw crashes heavily onto the stone platform with an earth-shaking sound, completely blocking every remaining escape route for Vikir. Vikir struggles under the enormous weight of the giant fist above him. He remembers the system warning that says only one person can escape through the portal. Knowing this, he decides to throw Sinclair through the exit first so she can survive instead of him. He knows Sinclair can never survive this floor alone, and if they both stay, the system will force them to fight each other to the death. The demons create this cruel game to make them feel hopeless, but Vikir refuses to follow their rules. Instead, he carefully focuses on the exact words of the warning and discovers a hidden loophole that he can use. As he understands how the rules really work, another giant hand comes out of a portal and hits him hard. Dekarivia becomes shocked and asks Vikir if he is trying to get himself killed. The demon reminds him that the trapped students can only be saved if Vikir clears the abyss tree and remains alive. He angrily tells Vikir that he is throwing his life away for a girl who might die on the next floor anyway. Vikir only smirks and teases the demon for forgetting his long oath to protect women. Dekarivia becomes even angrier because Vikir is making jokes during such a dangerous situation, but Vikir tells him to calm down. He explains that he has no intention of dying and points toward the portal, saying that he will simply walk through it as well. Dekarivia panics when more monsters rush toward them and asks how Vikir can escape when the portal only allows one person to pass through. Vikir prepares to move because he knows the system warning is not actually a lie. He jumps into the air after realizing that the rule only applies to humans. Using the fourth form of Baskerville, Vikir easily cuts down the wave of monsters rushing toward him. As the giant fist crashes down, Vikir uses the picaresque mask to transform into a beast and slips through the exit as an animal instead of a human. The system then confirms that he clears the Dragon Demon's laboratory and enters the 10th floor, which is called Paradise Lost. When Vikir opens his eyes beneath a fancy chandelier, he finds himself covered in bandages and transformed into a small hound. He wonders where he is. The 10th floor looks like a bright royal bedroom taken straight from a fairy tale. While resting in such a luxurious place, the tired little hound sinks into the soft bed and enjoys its warm comfort. He soon smells delicious food on the table and notices that the room contains everything anyone could ever want. It looks exactly like paradise, but the word suddenly awakens a dark memory from his past life. A system message appears and welcomes him to Paradise Lost, describing it as a safe place where tired challengers can rest. The floor shop opens and offers fine furniture, delicious food, and even letters from the outside world in exchange for stat candies. The system also explains that challengers who have no money can sell their permanent stats and items to pay for these comfort. Even though the system tells him that he is extremely lucky and can rest forever, Vikir knows that this place is actually a deadly trap. He remembers stories from heroes of his past life who call Paradise Lost the most dangerous floor in the entire Abyss Tree. Even though there are no monsters, the peaceful environment slowly destroys a person's desire to fight and leave. Challengers eventually trade away the stats they worked so hard to earn just to eat sweets and send letters to the outside world. Vikir knows that this comfortable life is a trap that destroys countless powerful warriors in his past life. Like insects drowning in honey, the challengers do not realize that they are trapped until they become completely lazy and weak. The longer someone stays in Paradise Lost, the faster they lose their stats and their desire to fight. Once they lose their strength and courage, they stop trying to escape and simply wait for someone else to rescue them. It is basically a prison without bars that is designed to destroy a warrior's mind through endless comfort. The expensive letter service is actually the worst part of this trap. The Abyss Tree reads a challenger's memories and creates fake letters filled with lies, giving them false hope month after month. Vikir knows that without the memories of his past life, he might have fallen for this trick too. Soon, the system gives him an escape quest that requires both people in the room to truly want to leave. Although the goal sounds simple, Vikir knows how difficult it is to convince someone who has already become comfortable. The real problem is that both people must agree to leave at the same time. Since two people share each room, if one person gives up and decides to stay, both people remain trapped forever. Looking at his new bandages, Vikir realizes that someone else has treated his wounds, and he hopes his roommate is someone he can talk to. Suddenly, a soft voice breaks the silence and puts the little hound on high alert. A blonde girl apologizes for frightening him and tells him to stay still so that his wounds do not open again. To Vikir's complete surprise, the person caring for him is Student Council President Dolores. Dolores forgets her usual calm personality as she squeals over how cute the puppy is and pulls him into a warm hug. She happily decides that she will adopt him and take care of him, leaving Vikir surprised by her playful side. Dolores believes that the puppy is simply an animal that is near the academy arena and gets pulled into the tower by accident. As she checks his bandages, she becomes shocked to see that his deep wounds are already healed, making Vikir worry that she might discover his secret. She remembers finding him covered in blood and almost dead, and she is amazed by how quickly he recovers. Luckily, Dolores assumes that her own holy magic heals him so quickly, allowing Vikir to sigh with relief. As she looks closely at his face, she suddenly says that the puppy looks a lot like someone she knows. She explains that the puppy's black fur, red eyes, and sharp expression remind her of a certain man. Dolores then checks underneath to determine his gender and blushes deeply when she discovers that he is male, leaving Vikir completely confused.